Join and subscribe. Ruth McCrackin and Trasetta Washington, two top-notch career and business strategists, are here to help you defy standards and break boundaries. Join them as they share powerful insights that have already impacted thousands of people and will have a major impact on your career, life balance, and business.
Hello, hello. Welcome. Hey, everybody. Hey, Trasetta. Great day, everybody. Listen,
hey, Ruth.
I'm having some malfunctions with our studio back here, but all is well. How are you, Trasetta?
I'm doing fantastic on this lovely Friday.
Yes, indeed.
Excited to be with you.
It's the 13th. Just so everybody know, we don't.
Yeah.
Listen.
It's Lucky Friday the 13th. Yes.
And I don't know about you, but growing up, for some reason, I don't know why we made it our best to think that we needed to watch, and I might be telling my age when it comes to Freddy Krueger, Michael Myers, the original ones, the
original Friday the 13th.
Yes.
Nightmare on Elm Street. Yeah.
Nightmare on Elm Street. Oh my gosh. Let us know in the comments. Listen, we're not here to try to condone or anything, but at the end of the day, it is what it is, right? We do have part of the spectrum that does fade that. But aside from that, thank you all for chiming in. Let us know where you are coming in, because listen, what we have to talk about today is definitely going to be something that's going to help unleash some of your abilities, some of the scarcity, or even things that may have caused you to not have the full faith to what we're going to talk about when it's about building public speaking confidence here in Breaking Boundaries. Ooh, I know you all are excited. You definitely want to grab your favorite beverage. Go ahead and grab your digital devices and take notes, because this is something that's going to also not just help thinking, well, I don't have to do any speaking. Why? How come? We will talk about what ways this can be leveraged in any element, where it be personal, professional, maybe in your workplace, maybe you're having to do something in your community. And let us know if this is going to be definitely beneficial for you all as we start and leash. Did you want to go ahead and get started, or do we have anything that we want to go ahead and embark our audience with? Because I think that this is a great opportunity for us to definitely unfold, because we do have a treat for them today. What you say?
Yeah, I definitely want to remind everyone that we are working on building our LinkedIn, the Breaking Boundaries podcast page. So if you haven't already, go over there, show us some love, follow us over there so that we can get to our goal of 150 subscribers or followers over there, so that we can go live on the page to make it easier for you to find us each week. And also, if you miss us, if you so happen to miss us on LinkedIn, you can always go over to our YouTube channel and catch the replay over there.
Yes.
I would encourage you to subscribe, hit that bell so that you can get notified when new videos are live over there. I know it's a lot easier to search for videos and content on YouTube than it is maybe here on LinkedIn. So
love it.
Get to those two places and show us some love. And then also, sharing is caring.
What you say?
Don't hold all this yummy goodness that we've been sharing with you week after week to yourself. Share it with a colleague, share it with a friend, share it with a family member, anyone that you like. Basically, anyone who has a voice really needs today's content, because public speaking, a lot of times we think of public speaking as just simply getting on a stage and giving a talk, but you might need to present in a meeting. You might, to actually do a presentation to like a board or to your boss. But even in one-on-one or small group meetings, sometimes you have to be able to present your ideas in a way that and from a place of confidence, so that you can influence people to receive whatever the information is that you're sharing. So regardless of whether you're a professional speaker or whether or not you have to give presentations on a consistent basis within your work, every single one of us needs to hone the ability to be able to publicly speak.
Well said. Are you all ready? I think they're ready, because listen, it even reminds me when I originally started getting into the realm. This had been like, oh my gosh, it's been forever. It's been at least over a decade where I definitely wanted to get more involved in practicing the different strategies. We're going to talk about the different strategies, don't get me wrong, on overcoming these stage frights. But that was something that I find to be, I don't know why, even it was just myself. If you're talking to before iPhones became truly what they are today, we're going to talk about what ways can you even start to form some of this strategies of overcoming some of these anxieties. Because I remember the time when I would stand in front of a camera and listen, Trasetta, I would sit here and repeat over and over, and I look back and I go back and rewind the camera snippets. I'm like, why? What was I saying? Because I get so nervous and we get stumbled upon on our words, and anxiety comes in, and you start thinking of other things that didn't even align with the topic of what you're trying to talk about. And the point is, how do you stay focused and stay centered and know that what you have to address matters? And what strategies to help avoid or minimize or eliminate some of the fright, the stage frights, the nervousness, the ankiness. And it's natural in the beginning, because obviously when you're introducing yourself to public speaking, you'd hear the title alone, and you probably, if you're an introvert, you're immediately going to want to go ahead into your hiding place. Let us know in the comments if this is resonating with you, that what ways can you now want to eliminate, or what symptoms may be involved. But before we talk about the symptoms, stage fright, I don't know how many of you all are familiar with it, but it's also known as a performance anxiety. And I definitely can relate to it many, many years ago. And it also involves a psychological phenomenon, basically characterizing how someone is feeling when it comes in a very intensive environment, or just feeling their nerves just taking the best of them. And then, as I was mentioning before, your anxiety, and then you start saying things off the lid that may not be in alignment with what the topic is. And sometimes fear of that particular individual may experience when it's required for them to perform their best, even though they may have practice, they have all their index cards, their keynotes, and their presentations already well prepared, and they just went a different direction, right? And what ways you all want to identify, because before you even know how to even overcome them, you want to identify them first. What kind of symptoms, and how, some people may be able to see, well, I may be having some kind of anxiety or issues. We've known them to be trembling. Your voice might start to shake when you're saying certain words or dialogue, when you're communicating out loud. Even in an interview, it's almost like public speaking, so I always say, we'll talk about ways to practice, but then it could be sweating for those who may find that to have a tendency of sweating and perspiring when having to speak in a large or a small, or even a one-to-one intimate setting, or rapid heartbeat. If any of these sound like you, listen, we see you and we hear you. We're definitely going to help you on what ways to overcome these. Dry mouth, when you're having to feel like a cotton ball mouth and you're wanting to remove that type of soothing. Yes. And then difficulty in concentration. Remember, I mentioned earlier, oftentimes your mind just starts to venture off to something else just to keep you safe, right? Or keep you feeling safe, and removing some of that angst and that feeling over the edge. And finally, fear of making mistakes. That's mainly the objective for a lot of folks. And then so was for myself as well. What if I don't say it right? What if it doesn't come out in the right delivery or in the right engagement style? And then I turn off the person who's maybe trying to listen or comprehend what I'm getting at. Let us know that stage fright is something very common. It is an experience that many people want to overcome, especially at work. We want it to work in our favor, that when we're talking in the midst of a group or in a public setting or in the private setting, it's just called public speaking. But whenever you're speaking outside of self, more than one person is there, you basically can be aligned to public speaking.
Right. It absolutely is. And, honestly, for those people who experience fear around public speaking or stage fright or a performance anxiety, or whatever you want to title it, 75% of the population.
Wow. Yeah.
75% of the population deals with some sort of performance anxiety. And one thing that I want to say before we kind of start getting into some of the ways that you can kind of move through the anxiety is that my mind went completely blank.
Oh no.
I forgot where I was going with that. But anyway, it's extremely common, and so many people. Oh, I know. I was gonna say I've been speaking I started giving trainings and presentations very early on in my career. So I was in my early 20s and now I'm 50 years old. So I've been giving presentations for almost 30 years now. And I used to get super, super nervous.
Yeah.
As you get more comfortable with public speaking, as well as kind of do some of the strategies and techniques that we're going to share with you, it becomes less of an issue, but oftentimes it doesn't fully go away. I still get nervous when I have to speak in certain situations, and I don't always know when it's going to come up. And so I still practice a lot of the techniques that we're going to be sharing with you on today.
I love it.
Yeah.
Listen, yes, I agree with you on that. It is a practice. It's a routine. It's giving yourself awareness and giving yourself grace that I need to get prepared, whether it be in a small group, a one-to-one, or even a larger group. Yeah, I agree.
Right. So just kind of a few strategies that I use or that are common is one, like focus on your mindset. What I like to say, what we think about, we bring about. So if you focus on, oh my gosh, I'm going to stumble over my words, or, oh my gosh, I'm going to pass out, or I'm going to mess up, then it's kind of like Murphy's Law. You end up creating that experience. But if you can go into it saying, I'm going to knock this out of the park, I'm going to do amazing, and really focus on building a positive mindset around the experience.
I like
that's going to make it so much easier for you to have that confidence when you get on stage, or when you stand up in the meeting, or when you speak, just simply speak up in a meeting, right? Yes. So you want to begin with mindset. You also, especially if you know that you get extraordinarily nervous before having to speak, practice some self-care beforehand. Do something to make sure that you are reducing the anxiety in your body. You don't want to go into the situation sleep deprived.
Oh my gosh, yes, because then that's probably where your mind tends to go elsewhere, or where you get nervousing and you start getting what I just shared with you all earlier. Those different symptoms
yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
You can do things like deep breathing. Right. Take a few before you have to walk on stage, or before you have to speak up, or even like if someone calls on you in a meeting and you need to share something, you don't have to start talking right away. Or if they ask you a question,
give me a moment.
Right. Say,
take a breather.
Give me a moment to collect my thoughts, take a deep breath, collect your thoughts, and then begin speaking.
Yes.
When you do deep breathing, it lowers your heart rate. It can bring your anxiety levels down. So practice deep breathing exercises. Also, visualization. Visualize yourself standing in front of the audience, giving a stellar presentation, or visualize yourself having the meeting, having the conversation with your boss, that difficult conversation that you need to have. Visualize it going well, right? Because what I talk about this all the time, and that you are creating that new neural pathway and your brain doesn't know the difference. So that if you practice it in your mind first, the way you desire it to go, then your brain automatically goes to work to make that happen.
I love it. It's similar to meditation, when you're putting yourself in an imaginational state of mind where you're now wanting to reinforce it and have the pixels created. And also journaling too, tie in with the visualization. Because I always mention to my clients, write it down. Have you even know what does that look like? Write the description. Be very specific about the background, the scenarios that you're going to be involved in. If it's going to be in the boardroom, like you were saying, or if it's going to be who else is maybe involved. What are you wearing? What is that? What are they wearing? So you want to be very clear, so vivid. So that way, by the time it does come your reality, it then becomes more easeful. Your brain is now getting familiarized with it. And the whole goal is you want it to not become more and more unfamiliar.
Right.
It's the main goal.
Right. But the number one, I think the absolute number one thing you can do to build your confidence when you're having to speak is to prepare.
Absolutely.
Preparation, preparation, preparation. Because when you know what you're talking about, when you know your stuff, there's automatic confidence there because you know it.
You
Right?
know
You're
it.
not trying to
Yeah.
guess. You're not trying to think about it. Like it's just already in you. And so when you are prepared, then you show up differently than when you just threw something together at the last minute.
And it will come out. It will show based on that. That's
Yes.
why it's important for us to talk about what's the effective way of public speaking. How can you, some tips and some values around that on being able to really define this public speaking and the presentation skills. There's three key elements. Ooh, I know you all. I want you to zoom in and knowing what are these elements of presenting. Most people may be really great at audio, where their voice tends to be able to engage and become more of an influencer on how they articulate the voice modulation of how they level, maybe go from being, depending on what type of stage that they're in or what type of engagement that they're involved in. Sometimes they want to be able to change their monotone. Some people that you cannot just be militant to everyone, right? You cannot have that go charged voice and then you're maybe only speaking to one person. It all depends on how many people are in front of you. And if it's just one person, sometimes you want to bring it down. I was telling you early on this year, and I did not end up doing it, although I've had the tendency of doing it when it comes to improv, because improv, they teach you on voice modulation. They teach you on what ways and what else can you maybe involve on Trasetta? Because I know you do a lot of public speaking.
Yeah. Voice modulation is extremely important because, like no one wants to listen to someone talking about anything when their voice is only like this the entire time. People are going to fall asleep if this is the way that you talk to them. Right.
That is absolutely listen, that's 1,000% correct. I would go to sleep, and even maybe my version of my daughter at the time when she was 2 months will probably say, "This is a great lullaby. Let me go ahead and doze off."
Right. Yes. Right. So you want to make sure that you have the rise and fall of your voice, but also your body language, right? So if you don't want to be standing like all closed off and tense, you want to be very fluid and move. Also, movement helps the nervousness to be expelled from your body. When you just stay still, the anxiety, that nervousness has nowhere to go. So by moving, you allow that energy to move through your body and pass out of it so that you don't hold it within you. And now don't be pacing like, a lion caged. Right, a caged lion just going back and forth. Right, you want to have a natural kind of body movement. You don't want to just be.
Is this helpful for you all? Because that's what brings us to our next one. We want to engage with the audience, letting them know that, hey, is this something that's resonating with you all? When it comes to public speaking, do you find yourself wanting to now be more mindful and more intentional on how you raise and level your voice? Because again, you want to make them more involved. You want to even maybe ask questions or say, can you, based on what you're hearing, can you reiterate what, maybe ask questions so they can be like, oh no, you said something earlier that really intrigued me and I wrote it down, and then they repeat it back to you. That's how you are able to know if they're engaged and are being attentive, and whether or not, if you didn't lose them, if they didn't lose focus and went to start doodling on their notepad. You want to bring them back in, because whatsoever you said it earlier, how you think is what you're bringing. Say that again, because I know maybe
what you think about, you bring about.
What you think about, you bring about. So again, is if you're thinking that they're engaged, you want to be able to bring them in. I would say bring them in based on, I know that they're being engaged because I'm going to now ask them some questions. I'm now going to involve them. I'm going to know that we're interacting and we're co-creating together and making sure that we're involved. And another thing is, where I would love to show what I've heard and saw quite a bit when it comes to the structure of presentations. Just because you want to have a huge experience, you want to have the maximum impact as possible. It's from heart, head, heart formula. Do you want to demonstrate what would that look like in a scenario, or even maybe someone taking heart, head, and then creating this heart formula? What does that look like?
So basically what that is you want to, people are emotional beings. And
Yeah.
while we may hear statistics and we may hear very important information, it is we only take action when our emotions become involved.
Yes.
So if you start off with the head, right? Like with a bunch of statistics, a bunch of information, then you have not opened people's hearts to be able to fully receive. So the heart formula is you open up with some sort of story, some sort of antidote, something or a question, something that engages the heart of people, that kind of tugs on the heartstrings a little bit. And then you enter into the more technical informational part of your presentation. And then you close out by sharing maybe like the end of the story. So maybe you start out talking about, maybe I started out talking about my client who, when she first came to me, she was stressed out, burned out, and overwhelmed. And she was ready to just like throw in the towel and say, I'm completely and totally done with life. And, but when we started working together, I shared with her one thing to do, and she started making some changes. And then I go into kind of all the different ways that you can beat overwhelm and restructure your life so that you can have less stress and more joy. And then I would close it out talking about saying how, as a result of her implementing the strategies that I shared with her, she's now in a completely different job. She was able to negotiate a salary that covered her regular salary plus what she was getting from her consulting clients. So she could fire her consulting clients and negotiated a bonus to be able to take her family on a 2-week vacation, and is now so much more at peace, has so much more joy, and is so much more productive and in tune with her family as a result of our work together, right? So that is essentially the heart formula. Right?
I love it.
Right? So it gets people to buy into what you're talking about.
You're doing a connection is what I'm hearing. You're involving them more so it doesn't feel transactional. Because oftentimes we have to realize we got to bring the human part into our conversation.
Yes.
What is it about them that you can engage or involve them to say, I can relate? I hear you, I see you, and then involving. I love the fact that we're talking about bringing in stories, bringing in experiences, scenarios, antidotes. And then you want to leave them with something to do, just like how we talk about when we do job interview preparations with my clients as well. And when we talk about even struggling, well, Ruth, how do I showcase that what makes me unique? You involve that by connecting, even if it's on digital, even if it's face-to-face, if you're doing an interview, where is this heart formula in this interaction or in this demonstration of your narrative of speaking about yourself, even whether it be, like I said, digital or public speaking, leaving them with something to do. I love that part.
We do that every week, right? We always give you all some sort of action item, something for you to do at the end of each episode so that you actually take what we've shared with you and then go implement it into your daily life.
Yes, 1,000%. Because you want to be able to at least feel like what you've done in this setting has some sort of action item. It can correlate in anything that you do in life. It could be in your personal, your workplace, like I said, even in an interview, because you want to leave them saying, okay, I'm going to get back with them. I'm going to pull up the calendar of the hiring team. And the next steps is based on what you just shared with me and what you've already provided as great scenarios will be a great opportunity for you to dive in even more deeper when it's time for you to get in conversation with the leaders that are looking for your background. So that's going to leave them something to do versus saying, oh, I will call you later. And then that's not happening because they can actually be they're telling you what they're going to be doing after the fact. And then you tell them, hey, I would love to hear from you all. And then giving them instructions too. So that way they can take actions after that. And these are some elements that I'm sure you all may be finding. Well, you know what? I never really tell them. Although I say, what is the next steps? But instead of saying, here's my calendar, I would love to see, can you tell me what's the availability of the hiring team as I look at mine? And this is what I have available. Is it matching up with what they have available? So giving them in that aspect, you can always transfer these principles in any aptitudes of your life, whether it be in a relationship, business, or even in your career. Finally, because what matters the most to everybody? Let us know. Would it be worth it to you that you're gaining confidence in speaking to large audience. And large could very well be 2 or more, 3 or more. I know for sure when it comes to large, it could be a good, decent amount of size where it's 20 plus, 50 plus people, eyeballs that's looking back at you. And what do you
or hundreds and thousands, right?
Hundreds or thousands.
It's really subjective.
Very subjective, because then at the end of the day, you want to know, where do you stand and how do you deliver? The main thing is, what is your delivering tactic? Focusing on a few smiling faces so you can direct and get that personal contact. Because it matters to me too. If I'm talking to someone, even if it's one-on-one or if it's 101, you want to be involved and showing that you're not just talking to them, but you're talking to them. You're giving them a personal connection. You want to include moments for the audience to be able to also interact through questions and activities. So that way, you know, they're attentive, they're engaged, they're actually taking notes, and they can speak back to what you're saying. Because remember, we talked about this not even long ago. 40% of what you obtain in a conversation, or what you've learned, or what's being given to you, you're going to lose within the next 24 hours. So it's very important that if you're involved in a large group or audience, how are you making sure that they're focused? How are you making sure that they're interacted? By asking questions, by involving activities. What else?
Definitely focus on your own area of expertise, right? Stay in your lane. Sometimes people try to, because they feel like, especially when it comes to speaking in front of a large audience, they feel like they have to impress people. And so they want to pull in all these things that really aren't a part of their zone of genius or their area of expertise. And that's where you start to get into trouble, because it's inauthentic. It's not something that's deeply rooted into you. And so it can make you feel, it can really, your confidence can really take a hit, because you don't feel as comfortable with the material because it's not really you. So you really want to focus on your specific area of expertise so that you can be yourself, right? Because you don't have to try and speak like Les Brown or some of the Lisa Nichols or whoever, some of the big motivational speakers or keynote speakers that are out there. All you have to do is be you. Be yourself, because when you are yourself, that's who you are the majority of the time. When you are trying to pretend to be somebody else, it requires so much more effort and energy, and it's easy to slip in and out. And people can tell when you are inauthentic, and they don't want to hear anything you have to say if you're not being you.
And don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to say you don't know something. And especially when I was doing my consulting, even like, hey, that is a great question. Let me go ahead and table that. You know, you brought something new. Maybe I can discuss it with the team. Getting input and feedback, and not saying, and then just blurt out something that doesn't even align, or it's just going to just create another rabbit hole that's going to create, you just basically creating your own barrier at this time, your burial at this point. So don't be afraid to say, hey, let me go ahead and get back with you on that. That was a very valid point. And even as a coach, and even as what I do as a talent strategy leader, sometimes you all have more creative ideas than I can even imagine. And that's why I would say, let us know in the comments if this is resonating with you, if this is beneficial, what other topics that you all would like to hear that we speak here on Breaking Boundaries, because it matters to us that, hey, we may not know something, but we'll go back and research. We'll collaborate with our team and go back into the lab and make something of it.
Or bring a guest, right? Like, we'll bring a guest in to be, if it's not our area of expertise or something that we're not comfortable with, we'll bring someone in to have a conversation who is an expert in that area to make sure that you get what you need.
I love it. I love it. So let's bring it up. Let's bring it on home. We brought you all here, and you talk here on Breaking Boundaries, how to overcome some of this stage fright and nervousness. We even talked about certain techniques and strategies that you all can take immediate attention to, which was number one key is preparation. Because some of y'all, we may think we have it all, but we don't, with the lack of preparation. We also even talked about the tips for effective public speaking and presentation skills, what ways you can maybe leverage your voice and not just stick into one monotone. And then the heart formula. I love that. Let us know. You may even want to go back, because the way it was illustrated is something that you definitely want to practice. How are you connecting with folks? How are you connecting with the people that you're wanting to engage and grab their attention? And most importantly, giving them something left to do, which we always share with you all as well. And then you want to, finally, we talked about gaining confidence, because listen, public speaking is a lifestyle. It is an ongoing, lifelong learning journey at the end of the day, because again, people are forever evolving. You are forever evolving. And therefore you want to close it in by saying, what ways can I become better? What ways can I then become more in tune with who I'm speaking with and more intentional? And then finally, we want to be able to share with you all, go back, like we shared, you may want to, if you haven't followed us already, if you haven't learned who we are, definitely take a peek at what we do. We are obsessed, as we are these talents, professional experts and leaders. Let us know in the comments that you are wanting to continue to learn more. If this is definitely something that's definitely creating a space for you to be more curious and more involved in expanding some of your knowledge when it comes to public speaking or anything about breaking boundaries, we want to help you unleash that power from within. So thank you all for listening. Was there anything else you wanted to share before we wrap up and close today? Because it's been a phenomenal session. I would love for you all to stay engaged as always.
I would just say we want to encourage you, because we always want to leave you with an action item. So choose one of the tips, one of the techniques to implement in your next presentation or meeting or speaking engagement, whatever it is, and then come back and let us know how things went. We always want to hear how things went when you implement the tips and tricks that we share with you.
Absolutely. Well, until next time, everyone, thank you all for hanging out with us and breaking boundaries. Have an awesome day.
Bye for now.
Join and subscribe with career strategist Ruth McCrackin and business strategist Trasetta Washington to the Breaking Boundaries podcast each week. You too can experience the limitless potential of rewriting rules and creating an extraordinary